25 most hated Hollywood actresses of 1960s. Hollywood has always been a land of glamour and fame, but behind the glittering facades lies a darker side. The 1960s saw a wave of beloved actresses who, despite their talent and beauty, became targets of intense public hatred. From controversial political stances to explosive on-set feuds, these women were vilified for reasons that went far beyond their roles on screen. But were they really deserving of the backlash, or were they simply victims of Hollywood's unforgiving glare? Watch as we uncover the untold stories of these 25 most hated actresses of the 1960s. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Tippi Hedren. Tippi Hedren, born January 19, 1930 in New Ulm, Minnesota, was one of the most intriguing actresses of the 1960s, remembered not just for her acting, but also for the dark behind-the-scenes drama that marked her career. Hedren's breakthrough role came in 1963 when she starred in Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, a film that cemented her place in cinematic history. With her cool, elegant demeanor and striking looks, Hedren became the perfect Hitchcock heroine. Her performance as Melanie Daniels, a woman terrorized by swarms of birds, was chilling and unforgettable. Hedren's success in the film catapulted her to fame, and she quickly became one of Hollywood's leading actresses. However, Hedren's relationship with Hitchcock was anything but typical. The two developed a complicated and at times abusive relationship during the making of The Birds and later Marnie 1964's. Hitchcock, who was known for his controlling nature, became obsessed with Hedren, making extreme demands on her both professionally and personally. Hedren has spoken openly about the psychological and emotional abuse she endured at the hands of Hitchcock, including his attempts to manipulate her and his unwanted advances. She was reportedly subjected to harsh working conditions, including being forced into dangerous stunts without proper safety measures during The Birds. The trauma of working with Hitchcock, combined with her own fierce determination to have a successful career, led to her decision to break ties with him. However, this move led to Hedren being blacklisted in Hollywood for a period as Hitchcock allegedly used his influence to limit her opportunities. Despite the challenges, Hedren continued to work in film and television, starring in movies like The Harrod Experiment 1973 and making guest appearances on television shows. Though her career never fully reached the heights it could have, Hedren remained a respected figure not just for her acting, but for her role in shedding light on the toxic power dynamics in Hollywood. In later years, Hedren became an advocate for animal rights, further cementing her legacy as a resilient woman who fought against industry manipulation. Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine, born April 24, 1934 in Richmond, Virginia, emerged as one of the most versatile and intriguing actresses of the 1960s, gaining fame for her distinct combination of comic timing and dramatic depth. MacLaine's career began on Broadway before making her mark in Hollywood. Her breakthrough role came in 1955 with The Trouble with Harry, a film directed by Alfred Hitchcock. It was her performance in the musical Sweet Charity 1969, however, that solidified her status as one of Hollywood's most unique talents. Her portrayal of Charity Hope Valentine, a hopelessly optimistic dancer, won her a Golden Globe and earned her widespread recognition. MacLaine's success in the 1960s was also marked by her independent spirit. Unlike many of her contemporaries, she was known for taking risks with her career and often playing roles that defied traditional expectations for women in Hollywood. She took on roles in films like The Apartment 1960 and Irma la Douce 1963, in which she portrayed complex, multifaceted women. However, her career wasn't just about acting. MacLaine was fiercely independent, often speaking her mind and challenging the norms of Hollywood. Her outspoken nature occasionally led to clashes with both colleagues and the press, making her a polarizing figure in the entertainment industry. Her most publicized conflict occurred on the set of A Change of Seasons 1980, in which she starred alongside Anthony Hopkins. The tension between the two was palpable, with Hopkins later describing MacLaine as the most obnoxious actress he had ever worked with. This public spat added to McClane's reputation as someone who, while immensely talented, was not afraid to stand up for herself and her beliefs, traits that would define her career for decades to come. Throughout her life, McClane remained a strong advocate for personal growth and spirituality, writing several books on the subjects. Her journey into the world of metaphysics and New Age philosophy was part of what made her both beloved and controversial. McClane's combination of fiery independence, artistic integrity, and willingness to challenge the status quo ensured her place as one of Hollywood's most enduring and intriguing figures. She continues to be a unique and respected voice in both the entertainment industry and beyond, with a legacy of boundary-pushing performances that remain as compelling as her personal journey. Honor Blackman. Honor Blackman, born August 22, 1925 in Plaistow, London, was a British actress who achieved iconic status in both the UK and Hollywood, particularly known for her role as the formidable Pussy Galore in the James Bond film Goldfinger, 1964. With her strong presence and captivating beauty, Blackman became a household name, playing one of the most famous Bond girls opposite Sean Connery. However, her career went beyond her Bond role. Prior to Goldfinger, she had already built a reputation as a television and film actress, starring as Kathy Gale in the British spy series The Avengers, 1961 to 1964. Blackman was a pioneering figure in the representation of women in action roles. As Kathy Gale, she was not just a sidekick, but an intelligent and capable equal to her male counterparts, embodying an empowered woman long before the feminist movements of the 1970s. This made her a trailblazer in her field, challenging the traditional passive roles for women in British television and cinema. However, her portrayal as Pussy Galore in Goldfinger was also a double-edged sword. Though the character was groundbreaking in her own right, Blackman found herself typecast, particularly in action-packed roles that emphasized her sex appeal. In addition to her roles in action and adventure films, Blackman had a long-standing career in the theater, television, and film. Yet despite her success, her off-screen personality was not without its controversies. Blackman's outspoken views on women's roles in film and her reluctance to take on typical feminine roles often clashed with Hollywood's expectations of female stars. Her rejection of the typical Bond girl persona was both empowering and alienating, leading some critics to dismiss her as difficult to work with. Nonetheless, she remained a respected figure throughout her career, admired for her strong-willed independence and her portrayal of complex characters. Honor Blackman's legacy continues to endure, as she remains one of the most memorable figures in British cinema, revered for her career-defining roles and her defiant approach to the conventions of the industry. Mia Farrow. Mia Farrow, born February 9, 1945 in Los Angeles, California, is an actress whose career has been defined by both immense success and deeply personal controversies. Farrow's early fame came through her roles in both television and film, but her breakthrough came with the 1968 psychological horror Rosemary's Baby, in which she portrayed the titular character, a woman who is unwittingly impregnated by Satan. Farrow's performance was chilling, earning her critical acclaim and establishing her as a formidable presence in Hollywood. Despite her success, Farrow's career and personal life were often overshadowed by her tumultuous relationships. Her highly publicized relationship with filmmaker Woody Allen dominated much of her life and career. The two began a relationship in the 1980s, despite the fact that Allen was in a long-term relationship with actress Diane Keaton at the time. This love triangle became a source of media frenzy, further amplified by Farrow's accusations that Allen had molested her daughter Dylan in 1992. The allegations led to a bitter custody battle which played out in the public eye and divided public opinion. While Farrow supported her daughter's claims, Allen vehemently denied the accusations, and the case has remained controversial, with many fans of both Farrow and Allen continuing to debate the truth of the matter. Farrow's dedication to activism also contributed to her polarizing image. She became an outspoken advocate for human rights, particularly in Africa, where she worked extensively with humanitarian organizations. Her commitment to humanitarian causes, combined with her role as a mother of many adopted children, especially from impoverished countries, added to her complex legacy. Throughout the years, Farrow continued to work in film and television, with notable roles in The Great Gatsby 1974, The Purple Rose of Cairo 1985, and Hannah and Her Sisters 1986. However, the lingering controversies surrounding her relationships, particularly with Woody Allen, have forever shaped her public persona. Farrow remains an emblematic figure of both Hollywood fame and personal conflict, a woman whose life and career continue to intrigue and captivate audiences around the world. Janet Leigh. Janet Leigh, born July 6, 1927 in Merced, California, was one of the most iconic actresses of the 1950s and 1960s, remembered for her stunning beauty, versatile acting talent, and her unforgettable role in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho 1960. Leigh's portrayal of Marion Crane, the woman who meets a shocking and violent fate in the infamous shower scene, became one of the most pivotal moments in cinematic history. Psycho not only cemented her as one of Hollywood's leading ladies, but also redefined the horror genre, making her performance a classic in the annals of film. While Psycho is undoubtedly her most famous role, Leigh's career spanned many other successful films, including Touch of Evil, 1958, The Manchurian Candidate, 1962, and Bye Bye Birdie, 1963. Her ability to shift seamlessly between drama, comedy, and thriller roles made her a beloved and respected actress. However, her career was also marked by personal challenges that often intersected with her professional life. Leigh was married to actor Tony Curtis, with whom she had 2 daughters, including the actress Jamie Lee Curtis. Their marriage, while initially a Hollywood fairy tale, was ultimately filled with tension and infidelity, particularly on Curtis's part. The public's fascination with their relationship, coupled with Curtis's womanizing and Leigh's subsequent struggles with personal issues, led to their divorce in 1962. Despite the personal difficulties, Janet Leigh's professional reputation remained strong, and she continued to act in television and film throughout her life. However, she was open about her feelings toward her role in Psycho. Although it made her famous, she was often uncomfortable with the intensity of her role in the film and the public's fixation on it. Her later career focused on a range of genres, and she found peace in both her career and personal life. Janet Leigh passed away on October 3, 2004, leaving behind a legacy defined by her versatile performances, particularly in Psycho, and a career that reflected both the glitter and complexity of Hollywood's golden age. Brigitte Bardot. Brigitte Bardot, born September 28, 1934, in Paris, France, became a global icon in the 1950s and 1960s, known for her extraordinary beauty, carefree persona, and revolutionary impact on the image of women in cinema. Bardot's rise to stardom began with her role in And God Created Woman 1956, which turned her into an international sex symbol. The film, directed by her first husband, Roger Vadim, showcased her as a wild, sexually liberated woman, and the world took notice. Bardot's beauty, combined with her rebellious attitude, broke boundaries and challenged the traditional, more restrained depictions of women in cinema. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, Bardot starred in numerous films that further solidified her place as one of the most photographed and talked about actresses of her time. Films like The Bride is Much Too Beautiful, 1956, La Parisienne, 1957, and Contempt, 1963, in which she starred alongside Jack Palance and directed by Jean-Luc Godard, showcased her as a symbol of sexual freedom and independence. Bardot's influence went beyond cinema, becoming a pop culture icon whose style and presence defined the era. However, Bardot's public image was as controversial as it was glamorous. While she embraced the role of a liberated woman, her outspoken views on various topics alienated many. Bardot was known for her controversial statements, particularly her criticism of immigration in France and her vocal opposition to Islam. These views, combined with her later association with far-right political figures, significantly damaged her reputation, especially in the latter part of her career. In 2003, she was fined for inciting racial hatred after making derogatory remarks about Muslims in her autobiography. Bardot's political views became increasingly extreme, leading to a backlash that overshadowed her earlier achievements. In the 1970s, Bardot stepped away from acting and focused on her passion for animal rights activism, founding the Brigitte Bardot Foundation for the Welfare and Protection of Animals in 1986. While her career in film had ended, she remained an influential figure in the media, known as much for her activism as for her cinematic legacy. Bardot's influence on the cultural landscape of the 1960s and beyond remains profound, as she continues to be both revered and criticized for her provocative persona and uncompromising views. Despite the controversies, Brigitte Bardot remains one of the most significant figures in the history of cinema and pop culture, representing both the power and the peril of being a woman who dares to break conventions. Natalie Wood. Natalie Wood's career was marked by a blend of fame, scandal, and tragedy. Born in San Francisco on July 20, 1938, Wood began acting at the age of 4 and quickly became a recognizable child star. Her breakthrough came in 1955 with Rebel Without a Cause, where she starred alongside James Dean. Wood's delicate beauty and emotional depth made her one of Hollywood's most sought-after actresses. Yet despite her early success, she became a victim of the pressures that often accompany child stardom. By the 1960s, Wood had transitioned into adult roles, starring in hits like West Side Story 1961 and Splendor in the Grass 1961. However, her career was marred by a series of high-profile relationships, including her troubled marriage to actor Robert Wagner. The couple's on-again, off-again relationship was tumultuous, with rumors swirling about infidelity, including an alleged affair Wood had with co-star Warren Beatty during Splendor in the Grass. While she never publicly confirmed the affair, the gossip surrounding it was hard to escape contributing to her public image as a man-eater and causing significant strain in her marriage. Wood's personal life was further complicated by her strained relationship with her controlling stage mother, which led to psychological challenges that plagued her well into adulthood. Despite becoming a celebrated star, Wood's inner struggles often went unnoticed. Her final years were marked by deepening personal difficulties, including insecurities about her career and fears about aging. Her mysterious death at the age of 43 on November 29, 1981, while on a yacht with her husband Robert Wagner and co-star Christopher Walken, only added to her legacy of intrigue. Her death was ruled an accidental drowning, but theories and speculations regarding foul play have persisted. The mystery surrounding her death, combined with her troubled personal life, ensured that Natalie Wood would remain one of Hollywood's most controversial figures, a tragic figure whose legacy is as complex as the life she led. Judy Garland. Judy Garland, born Frances Ethel Gum on June 10, 1922, in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, became one of the most iconic actresses in Hollywood history. Best known for her portrayal of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz 1939, Garland's career began in childhood, and she quickly became a fixture at MGM. However, her early exposure to the pressures of Hollywood fame would shape much of her troubled life. Garland's childhood was marked by harsh treatment by the studio, which sought to control her image, forcing her to undergo grueling work hours and eventually the use of amphetamines to keep her thin and energetic. As a young adult, Garland's career flourished with hits like Meet Me in St. Louis 1944 and A Star is Born 1954. However, behind the scenes, her life was plagued by personal and professional struggles. She battled drug and alcohol addiction, depression, and multiple marriages, with her first marriage to composer David Rose ending in divorce after just 4 years. Garland's second marriage to actor Vincente Minnelli was equally fraught with problems. The couple had one daughter, Liza Minnelli, but their relationship was marred by Garland's infidelities and her ongoing battle with substance abuse. Garland's struggles with addiction became public as she was repeatedly fired from movies due to her erratic behavior, and her financial troubles grew worse. Despite her immense talent, Garland was never able to escape the destructive cycle of addiction, and her career faltered. She was fired from MGM in the early 1950s, and her personal life continued to unravel. Her most famous role, that of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, became a source of both admiration and frustration for Garland. Though it solidified her place as a beloved figure in American cinema, Garland's relationship with the film was complicated. She resented being typecast as the innocent girl from Kansas and struggled with the image of purity the film projected. In the 1960s, Garland's fame began to wane, and she struggled with financial instability. Her comeback efforts, including a famous concert at Carnegie Hall in 1961, were met with mixed reviews. Garland's tumultuous life came to a tragic end on June 22, 1969, when she died of an overdose at the age of 47. Her death marked the end of a turbulent career, but her legacy as a talented and troubled icon remains intact. Despite the turmoil that often overshadowed her career, Garland's contribution to film and music has left an indelible mark on Hollywood history. Her story, filled with both immense talent and great tragedy, remains one of the most poignant in the history of show business. Jane Mansfield. Jane Mansfield, born Vera. Jane Palmer, on April 19, 1933, in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, became one of Hollywood's most iconic and controversial figures of the 1950s and 1960s. Often compared to Marilyn Monroe due to her blonde bombshell image, Mansfield embraced the dumb blonde stereotype and made it her own. She quickly rose to fame with roles in films like The Girl Can't Help It, 1956, and Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter, 1957, playing the role of the bombshell ingenue to perfection. Mansfield was unapologetically sexual, and her image was often pushed to the limit of what was considered appropriate at the time, which was both a source of her fame and disdain. However, Mansfield's personal life was far from glamorous. She was married 3 times, most notably to actor Mickey Hargitay, a former Mr. Universe with whom she had 3 children. Their marriage, which ended in divorce, was heavily publicized, contributing to her reputation as a woman who sought attention at any cost. Her relationships were as much in the public eye as her career, and she became known for her constant pursuit of media attention. Her role in Hollywood was further complicated by her desire to step out of the typical blonde bombshell box, but her efforts to be taken seriously as an actress often fell flat. In a bid to break free from the typecasting, Mansfield enrolled in a course at the University of California, Los Angeles, but her career was to many forever linked to her physicality and playful, often provocative persona. Tragically, Mansfield's life was cut short in a car accident on June 29, 1967, at the age of 34. The crash, which also claimed the lives of her lover, Samuel S. Brody, and their driver, was one of the most shocking celebrity deaths of the decade. Her children who survived the crash grew up in the shadow of their mother's image. Despite the public scrutiny and scandal that often surrounded her, Mansfield remains an enduring symbol of the Hollywood blonde bombshell whose tragic end has only added to her mystique. Raquel Welch. Raquel Welch, born Jo Raquel Tejada, on September 5, 1940, in Chicago, Illinois, emerged as one of the most famous actresses of the 1960s, solidifying her status as a sex symbol. Welch's breakout moment came with her role in the 1966 film 1,000,000 Years BC, where she appeared in a fur bikini. While her acting talent was undeniable, it was her physical appearance that caught the public's attention and made her a global sensation. The image of Welch in the bikini, which became one of the most iconic in cinematic history, is still widely associated with her, though she sought to move beyond it in her career. Despite being typecast as a sex symbol in many of her early roles, Welch was determined to prove her acting abilities. She appeared in several films throughout the 1960s and 1970s, including Fantastic Voyage 1966, The Three Musketeers 1973, and Hannie Calder 1971, where she showcased her range and depth as an actress. However, despite her career progression, Welch was often frustrated by the public's insistence on viewing her primarily for her looks rather than her acting skill. Her personal life was no less eventful than her career. Welch had 3 marriages, with her second marriage to Patrick Curtis, a man 10 years her junior, making headlines at the time. Despite her successful career, Welch's love life was often scrutinized, with her relationships becoming a constant subject of gossip. Her divorce from Curtis was particularly scandalous, with Welch reportedly receiving a mere $1 in the settlement. Her subsequent marriages and relationships only continued to add to the narrative of Welch as a woman who, despite her immense beauty and fame, was constantly battling against the public's shallow perception of her. Over time, Welch moved away from film roles and became a cultural icon for women, with her name often mentioned in the same breath as the most beautiful women of the era. She also became an entrepreneur, selling beauty products, wigs, and even fitness videos. As she aged, Welch continued to defy Hollywood's expectations by staying active in the public eye and maintaining a level of poise and elegance that belied her earlier image. Raquel Welch remains a beloved figure not just for her stunning looks, but for her resilience in a career that often tried to limit her to a single image. Through both her career and personal life, Welch proved that beauty alone was not enough to define her legacy, as she became a trailblazer for women in Hollywood who sought more than just fame for their looks. Anna Magnani. Anna Magnani, born March 7, 1908, in Rome. Italy is remembered as one of the most powerful actresses of the 20th century, celebrated for her emotionally charged and raw performances. She was the embodiment of the Italian neorealism movement, portraying women with a depth of passion and authenticity rarely seen at the time. Magnani's most iconic role came in 1945 with Rome Open City, where her portrayal of Pina, a woman caught in the turmoil of World War II, catapulted her to international fame. Her fierce acting style, combined with a physical presence that could command any scene, made her an unforgettable figure in cinema. Magnani's career was often defined by her refusal to conform to Hollywood's more glamorous standards. She rejected the idea of being a typical movie star, and her portrayals were gritty, flawed, and often heartbreaking. However, her rise to stardom was not without struggle. Born into poverty and facing a harsh childhood, Magnani worked tirelessly to become an actress. Her ascent was not easy, and she often had to fight against the industry's preference for more conventionally beautiful and polished actresses. Her personal life mirrored the intensity of her roles. She had a tumultuous and passionate relationship with director Roberto Rossellini, which was a significant part of her life, although the relationship ultimately ended in heartbreak. Magnani's uncompromising nature and refusal to conform to societal expectations often led to her being labeled as difficult, and she was known for her fiery temper and her unapologetic attitude toward her career. Despite the controversies surrounding her, Magnani was widely admired for her fearlessness both on and off the screen. In 1955, she won an Academy Award for Best Actress for her performance in The Rose Tattoo, making her the first Italian actress to win the prestigious award. Throughout her career, Magnani became a symbol of strength and resilience, a woman who defied the limitations of both her circumstances and her profession. Her legacy as one of the greatest actresses in cinema history remains intact to this day, and her contributions to film continue to inspire filmmakers and actors alike. Ava Gardner. Ava Gardner, born December 24, 1922 in Grabtown, North Carolina, is often regarded as one of the greatest actresses to emerge from Hollywood's golden age. She was a woman who epitomized the glamour and allure of the era, but her life was anything but glamorous. Gardner's rise to fame was swift and at times tumultuous. Discovered while working as a secretary, she soon became a contract player at MGM, where she quickly caught the attention of audiences with her striking beauty and sultry voice. Gardner's breakout role came in 1946 with The Killers, where she played the femme fatale, a role that cemented her as one of Hollywood's top stars. However, Gardner's personal life was filled with challenges and controversies, making her more famous for her relationships than her acting roles. She was married 3 times, most famously to singer Frank Sinatra. Their turbulent marriage, marked by infidelity and public fights, was the subject of intense media scrutiny. Despite their volatile relationship, Gardner was often seen as one of the few women who could stand up to Sinatra, and their passionate yet destructive marriage has since become a Hollywood legend. Gardner was also known for her fiery personality and independent spirit, which made her a controversial figure in an industry that often sought to control its stars. Her career, while marked by a series of notable performances in films like Mogambo (1953) and The Barefoot Contessa (1954), was also overshadowed by her love life, particularly her marriage to Sinatra. Critics and audiences alike found it difficult to separate her tumultuous personal life from her professional work. By the 1960s, Gardner's star had begun to dim as she faced health problems, financial difficulties, and a changing Hollywood landscape. Her final years were spent in relative obscurity as she battled alcohol abuse and poor health. She passed away on January 25, 1990 from pneumonia at the age of 67, having lived a life full of both passion and heartbreak. Ava Gardner's legacy as a glamorous movie star is complicated by her personal struggles. But it is her indomitable spirit, fiery independence, and iconic beauty that have made her an enduring figure in Hollywood history. Despite the many controversies surrounding her, Gardner remains one of the most fascinating and complex stars of the golden age of Hollywood. Patricia Neal. Patricia Neal, born January 20, 1926 in Packard, Kentucky, rose to fame in the 1950s as one of Hollywood's most talented actresses, yet her career and personal life were marked by both triumphs and struggles. Neal was celebrated for her powerful performances in films like The Fountainhead (1949) and HUD (1963), the latter of which earned her an Academy Award for Best Actress. However, while her professional achievements were significant, Neal's personal life was fraught with challenges that often made her the subject of public fascination. Neal's life was characterized by both incredible success and deep tragedy. She was married to children's author Roald Dahl, with whom she had 5 children. In 1965, Neal suffered a devastating stroke which left her partially paralyzed and caused a long road to recovery. Despite this setback, Neal showed immense resilience and determination, returning to acting within a few years of her stroke and continuing to work well into the 1970s. However, it was her relationship with Dahl that sparked the most intrigue. Their marriage was known for its tensions and infidelities, with rumors swirling about both Neal's and Dahl's extramarital affairs. Neal had a notorious reputation for being outspoken and difficult to work with on set, particularly in her later years. In her memoir, she candidly discussed the strains in her relationship with Dahl, including his emotional neglect and her own struggles with substance abuse. Neal's controversial reputation was further exacerbated by her involvement in a high-profile affair with actor Gary Cooper while she was still married to Dahl. This affair was one of the many issues that tainted her otherwise successful career. Although she maintained a significant presence in the acting world, Patricia Neal was ultimately remembered as much for her personal tumult as for her acting prowess. Her career had ups and downs, but she always remained a complex and intriguing figure in Hollywood, embodying both strength and vulnerability. Deborah Kerr. Deborah Kerr, born September 30, 1921 in Helensburgh, Scotland, became one of Hollywood's most celebrated actresses during the mid-20th century. Known for her elegance, poise, and versatility, Kerr was a staple in both British and American cinema. Her breakout role came in 1947 with Black Narcissus, a film that highlighted her as a major dramatic talent. Throughout her career, Kerr's performances in films such as The King and I, 1956, An Affair to Remember, 1957, and From Here to Eternity, 1953, solidified her place as one of Hollywood's most respected actresses. However, Kerr's career was not without its controversies, particularly regarding her off-screen relationships. Although she was considered a refined and gracious figure, her personal life was filled with intrigue. Her marriage to novelist and writer Peter Viertel was marked by both love and difficulty. Viertel, who was often considered a highly intellectual man, had a tumultuous relationship with Kerr, and they struggled to balance their careers and personal lives. Throughout their marriage, Kerr was known to have been particularly private about her relationships and rarely discussed her marriage in public. Despite their apparent public success, Kerr's marriage to Viertel ended in divorce in 1969 after years of marital issues, including a reported emotional disconnect between the two. On set, Kerr was known for her professionalism and reliability, but reports also suggested that she could be difficult at times, particularly when working with certain directors or co-stars. Her strict adherence to perfectionism sometimes led to tension behind the scenes. The emotional intensity she brought to her roles, particularly in The King and I, where she played opposite Yul Brynner, left audiences in awe of her talent, but also painted a portrait of an actress deeply devoted to her craft to the detriment of her personal life. Despite these struggles, Kerr was admired for her enduring charm and grace. After her retirement from acting, Kerr lived a relatively quiet life until her passing in 2007 at the age of 86. While her career brought her fame, her personal struggles, and her somewhat mysterious off-screen life have added to the complexity of her legacy. Kerr remains an icon of old Hollywood whose talent and beauty continue to captivate audiences even decades after her death. Jeanne Moreau. Jeanne Moreau, born January 23, 1928 in Paris. France was one of the most iconic actresses of the French New Wave, known for her captivating screen presence and remarkable range. Moreau's career spanned 6 decades, and she became renowned for her bold, complex portrayals of women in films such as Jules et Jim, 1962, directed by François Truffaut, and The Lovers, 1958. Which solidified her status as a key figure in international cinema. Moreau's smoky voice and hauntingly beautiful eyes captivated audiences, and she was lauded for her ability to evoke deep emotional vulnerability on screen. Despite her immense talent and critical acclaim, Moreau's career was not without controversy. In a time when French cinema was shifting away from traditional romantic portrayals of women, Moreau broke boundaries with her portrayals of complicated, often morally ambiguous characters. Her role in Jules et Jim as the emotionally volatile Catherine became legendary for its bold exploration of love betrayal and the complexities of human relationships. Off-screen, her life was equally turbulent, filled with passionate relationships and personal struggles. Moreau was known for her independence and defiance against the norms of the time. Her several marriages, relationships with prominent directors, and her often public emotional struggles were subjects of fascination and gossip. Her relationship with fellow actor and director Louis Malle was particularly notable. Their affair, though brief, was filled with emotional intensity and intellectual connection, and it sparked public interest in Moreau's personal life. While she was a revered figure in French cinema, her career was not always without its challenges. As a woman who dared to explore complex, flawed characters, Moreau often faced resistance, but she remained true to her craft. She continued to act direct and even sing, cementing her status as one of the most influential and enduring actresses in French cinema history. Jeanne Moreau passed away on July 31, 2017, at the age of 89. Leaving behind a legacy of iconic performances that continue to resonate with audiences worldwide. Anne Margaret. Anne Margaret, born April 28, 1941, in Valsjöby, Sweden, became a Hollywood sensation in the 1960s, known for her stunning beauty, captivating stage presence, and fiery performances. Her American breakthrough came in 1961 when she starred in Pocketful of Miracles alongside Bette Davis and Glenn Ford. However, it was her electrifying performance in Bye Bye Birdie, 1963, that solidified her status as a major star. Anne Margaret's sultry image, often compared to Marilyn Monroe, was amplified by her roles in films where she played both the sweet ingenue and the seductive bombshell. Her rendition of How Lovely to Be a Woman in Bye Bye Birdie became iconic, and she quickly became one of Hollywood's most sought-after actresses. Beyond her acting career, Ann-Margret was a talented singer and dancer, earning recognition for her performances in both film and live performances. Her dynamic stage presence made her a beloved entertainer, and she became known for her vivacious personality and her ability to captivate audiences with her performances. Over the years, Ann-Margret became a favorite on the variety show circuit, frequently appearing on television and in musical performances. However, her career was not without controversy. Ann-Margret's sex appeal was often the primary focus of her public image, leading some critics to dismiss her as merely a pretty face. She struggled to be taken seriously as an actress due to the overwhelming emphasis on her looks and her persona as a sex symbol. Additionally, her personal life occasionally made headlines. In 1972, Ann-Margret was involved in a highly publicized affair with married actor and singer Elvis Presley, which only fueled her media image as the other woman in a famous Hollywood romance. Though their relationship was brief, it fueled much speculation and gossip. Her personal life was further complicated by her marriage to businessman Roger Smith, with whom she had a long and public partnership. Their relationship faced its own struggles but remained remarkably steady for decades. Ann-Margret's later years were marked by a career resurgence, particularly after her role in Tommy 1975, a rock musical by The Who, and her nomination for an Academy Award for Carnal Knowledge 1971. While she may have been seen by some as simply a glamorous figure, Ann-Margret proved time and again that she had more to offer than just her looks, establishing herself as one of Hollywood's most enduring and versatile stars. Ann-Margret's legacy continues to live on as her name is synonymous with the golden age of Hollywood glamour and the rise of sex appeal in the entertainment industry. Julie Andrews. Julie Andrews, born October 1, 1935 in Walton-on-Thames, Surrey, England, became one of the most beloved and respected actresses in Hollywood and worldwide thanks to her remarkable singing voice and charming screen presence. Andrews' breakout role came in 1964 with Mary Poppins, where she portrayed the magical, no-nonsense nanny. The film was an instant classic, earning her an Academy Award for Best Actress. Her portrayal of the enchanting yet firm Poppins endeared her to audiences of all ages, and her performance cemented her as one of Hollywood's greatest stars. The following year, Andrews starred in The Sound of Music 1965, another landmark film that solidified her status as a global superstar. As Maria von Trapp, Andrews captivated audiences with her singing and acting, and the film became one of the most successful and iconic musicals in history. Andrews' ability to blend beauty, elegance, and genuine warmth allowed her to capture the hearts of audiences across the world. However, her career, while extraordinary, was not without controversy. Despite her widespread appeal, Andrews' professional relationships were sometimes marked by tension. During the making of Hawaii 1966, co-star Richard Harris described her as condescending and mean, a stark contrast to her on-screen persona. These allegations, while never confirmed by Andrews herself, hinted at a more complex and demanding individual behind the charming, wholesome image she projected on screen. In addition, her career hit a significant snag in the 1970s when she was infamously replaced by Audrey Hepburn in the musical My Fair Lady 1964, despite having originated the role on Broadway. This sparked a public outcry, and Andrews, though disappointed, moved on gracefully, accepting that her career would not always follow the paths she had hoped. Andrews' later career included roles in more dramatic films such as Victor, Victoria 1982, where she demonstrated her versatility as an actress. Though she experienced some setbacks due to voice surgery in 1997, she remains a highly respected figure in both film and theater. Her legacy is not just in her films, but in the graceful and enduring spirit she has brought to every role she's taken on. Barbara Steele. Barbara Steele, born December 29, 1937 in Birkenhead. England, is often celebrated as the queen of Italian horror cinema. Known for her strikingly dark beauty and her ability to bring an ethereal quality to her roles, Steele became a pioneering figure in the genre during the 1960s. Steele's most iconic roles came in films like Black Sunday 1960 and The Pit and the Pendulum 1961, where she portrayed mysterious and often sinister characters, earning her the title of a Gothic icon. Her performances were often imbued with a sense of otherworldliness and psychological complexity, setting her apart from other actresses of the time. Despite her success in Italian horror, Steele struggled to break free from being typecast in the genre. Though she was widely respected for her acting, she became frustrated by the limited opportunities offered to her within horror films. After starring in several critically acclaimed films, including The Horrible Doctor, Hitchcock, 1962, and The Night of the Devil, 1970, Steele began to distance herself from the genre in the 1970s. She sought roles in more mainstream films and began focusing on her career in the United States. However, her desire to escape the typecasting that had followed her throughout her career led to tension with fans and critics alike, who were disappointed to see her move away from the roles that had made her famous. Off-screen, Steele's life was just as intriguing and unconventional as her roles. She was known to be fiercely independent, often avoiding the trappings of Hollywood's glitzy lifestyle. Despite her status as a sex symbol in the 1960s, Steele was not one to embrace the typical Hollywood image of glamour. She was more interested in pursuing her artistic and intellectual interests, which included writing and photography. This independent streak, while admirable, also led to her being perceived by some as aloof or unapproachable, further complicating her public image. In the years that followed, Steele continued to work in film and television, often taking on smaller roles, but never quite achieving the same level of recognition she had once held in the 1960s. Despite this, her legacy as a horror icon remains intact, and she is revered by horror fans and filmmakers alike for her contribution to the genre. Today, Barbara Steele is remembered as a pioneering actress who helped define the horror genre, bringing a unique blend of elegance and menace to her roles that continues to influence contemporary horror films. Anne Bancroft. Anne Bancroft, born on September 17, 1931 in New York City, was a celebrated actress whose career spanned 6 decades, marked by remarkable versatility and a knack for portraying complex, often troubled characters. Bancroft's breakthrough came in 1962 with her role as Mrs. Robinson in The Graduate, a film that would become an iconic staple in American cinema. Her portrayal of the older, seductive woman who entangles a young man in an affair marked her as one of Hollywood's most intriguing figures, and she earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress for the role. The film itself became a cultural touchstone, making both Bancroft and her character an indelible part of movie history. Bancroft's career continued to flourish with roles in films such as The Miracle Worker 1962, where she portrayed Anne Sullivan, the determined teacher to a young Helen Keller. This performance earned her an Academy Award for Best Actress and solidified her as one of the finest actresses of her generation. She was equally adept at portraying vulnerable, introspective characters and was celebrated for her emotional depth and intellectual strength. However, Bancroft's career was not without its complications. While she enjoyed critical success, her career also experienced tensions, especially with directors and co-stars who found her strong personality difficult to manage. This trait was particularly evident during the making of A Change of Seasons 1980, where her working relationship with Anthony Hopkins was marked by open conflict. Hopkins later described Bancroft as the most obnoxious actress he had ever worked with, which painted a picture of an actress who, despite her immense talent, could sometimes be challenging to work with. Off-screen, Bancroft's marriage to director Mel Brooks was a significant aspect of her personal life, and the couple remained married for over 40 years, until Bancroft's death in 2005. Known for her humor and sharp wit, Bancroft's legacy remains rooted in her iconic performances, as well as her ability to bring depth and humanity to every role she took on. She was admired for the integrity she maintained throughout her career, standing as a testament to the power of a woman in Hollywood who refused to fit into conventional molds. Catherine Deneuve. Catherine Deneuve, born October 22, 1943 in Paris. France is one of the most iconic figures in French cinema, known for her stunning beauty and powerful screen presence. Deneuve's rise to fame began in the 1960s, when she starred in films such as The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, 1964, a film by Jacques Demy that showcased her singing ability and cemented her status as an international star. Deneuve's portrayal of the sweet and tragic character of Geneviève in the musical, which is often considered one of the most visually striking films of the era, marked the beginning of a career that would span decades and a wide range of roles. Throughout her career, Deneuve was often cast as the epitome of French elegance and beauty roles that highlighted her ethereal and unattainable allure. She became a symbol of French femininity, starring in films like Belle de Jour 1967 and Repulsion 1965, where her characters often wrestled with complex internalized struggles. Deneuve's ability to play both the innocent and the sinister with equal grace made her a versatile actress, celebrated for her poise and depth. Her performances in films by renowned directors such as Luis Buñuel and François Truffaut earned her critical acclaim and a reputation as one of the most respected actresses in European cinema. Despite her success, Deneuve's career was also marked by controversies. In the 2010s, she faced backlash after co-signing a controversial open letter in 2018 that criticized the #MeToo movement, accusing it of being puritanical and overbearing. The letter sparked a public debate about the balance between freedom of expression and the movement's goals, and Deneuve's stance was met with strong criticism from many activists who accused her of dismissing the real experiences of sexual harassment victims. Deneuve's outspoken opinions on gender and feminism have at times led to a perception of her as a figure who is resistant to contemporary changes in social politics. Yet despite the controversies surrounding her, Deneuve's influence on French cinema and her legacy as one of its leading ladies remain undeniable. She continues to be celebrated for her extensive body of work, which helped redefine the roles of women in European film, and for her ability to embody both strength and vulnerability on screen. Catherine Deneuve's career is a testament to her lasting impact on cinema, and while her views have sparked debate, her place as a cultural icon in the history of film is firmly cemented. Julie Christie. Julie Christie, born April 14, 1940 in Chabua, India, became one of the most celebrated and distinctive actresses of the 1960s, known for her captivating beauty and powerful, nuanced performances. She rose to fame quickly with her breakout role in Darling 1965, for which she won the Academy Award for Best Actress. In Darling, Christie portrayed Diana Scott, a young woman navigating the complexities of fame and romantic relationships, a performance that captured the restless, ambitious spirit of the era. Her portrayal in Darling earned her not only an Oscar, but also established her as a leading figure in British cinema and beyond. Christie's career continued to soar in the 1960s, with starring roles in films such as Dr. Zhivago 1965 and Fahrenheit 451 1966, where she brought depth to characters in both epic dramas and dystopian tales. Her role as Lara in Dr. Zhivago opposite Omar Sharif remains one of her most iconic, earning her a Golden Globe nomination and cementing her place as one of Hollywood's most alluring stars. She also became known for her collaborations with directors like Nicholas Roeg, particularly in Petulia 1968, where she portrayed a troubled woman caught in the chaos of the 1960s counterculture. Despite her Hollywood success, Christie's personal life and her later decisions set her apart from many of her contemporaries. She was known for her intellectualism and the political causes she supported, including her strong advocacy for animal rights and environmental issues. Christie became increasingly disillusioned with the film industry and the pressures of fame, leading her to retreat from acting in the late 1970s. Her disillusionment with Hollywood fame and her growing focus on social activism made her a polarizing figure in the 1970s and beyond. However, Christie made a notable comeback in the 1980s with her role in Heaven Can Wait 1978, which showcased her versatility and continued relevance as an actress. Her career, which combined both mainstream success and personal rebellion, reflects the complexities of being a woman in Hollywood during the 1960s and 1970s. Julie Christie's legacy remains as one of the most enigmatic and influential figures in cinema, remembered for her elegant intellect and the powerful emotional depth she brought to her roles. Claudia Cardinale. Claudia Cardinale, born April 15, 1939 in Tunis. Tunisia is considered one of the most iconic actresses of Italian cinema and an enduring figure of the 1960s. Known for her striking beauty and compelling screen presence, Cardinale quickly became one of the leading actresses in Europe, starring in a series of highly successful films that showcased both her glamour and her dramatic range. Cardinale's big break came in 1958 with the film Big Deal on Madonna Street, a role that highlighted her comedic charm and intelligence. However, it was her role in The Leopard 1963, directed by Luchino Visconti, that firmly established her as an international star. As the beautiful and tragic Angelica Cardinale's performance was both poignant and powerful, capturing the essence of the changing social fabric of Italy. In addition to The Leopard, Cardinale starred in Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, one of the most famous spaghetti westerns directed by Sergio Leone, where she played Jill, a woman caught in a web of vengeance and violence. Her performance in this genre-defining film further cemented her status as a major star, able to move from drama to action and to evoke complex emotions in diverse roles. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, Cardinale worked with some of the most prominent directors of the time, including Federico Fellini in 8½ 1963 and Michelangelo Antonioni in Red Desert 1964. Showcasing her versatility as an actress capable of both emotional depth and physical presence. Despite her cinematic success, Cardinale's career was occasionally marred by the intense public scrutiny that came with her beauty. She was frequently typecast as the sultry exotic woman, a label that frustrated her as she sought to be recognized for her acting ability rather than her looks. She eventually moved beyond Italian cinema and sought more varied roles in international films, though her later work was less high-profile than her early career. Off-screen, Cardinale was known for her activism and dedication to social causes, including her work with the United Nations and her outspoken support for feminist movements. She was also known for her elegance and grace, becoming a symbol of European beauty and sophistication. Despite a more reserved public life in her later years, Claudia Cardinale remains one of the most admired actresses of her generation. Her legacy is defined not only by her stunning performances, but by her strength in navigating the complex world of international stardom and her commitment to both her craft and her ideals. Sophia Loren. Sophia Loren, born September 20th, 1934 in Rome. Italy is widely regarded as one of the greatest and most enduring actresses in cinematic history. With her striking beauty, magnetic presence, and undeniable talent, Loren became a global icon, capturing the hearts of audiences worldwide. Her career began in the 1950s, when she moved from minor roles in Italian films to leading lady status, with her breakthrough coming in 1954 in the film The Gold of Naples. Loren's role in this film and her collaborations with the great director Vittorio De Sica solidified her place in the annals of classic cinema. Loren's true international stardom began with Two Women 1960, for which she won the Academy Award for Best Actress, making her the first actress to win an Oscar for a performance in a foreign-language film. This achievement marked a turning point in her career, propelling her into the international spotlight. The film, a poignant portrayal of a mother and daughter struggling to survive during World War II, showcased Loren's emotional depth and versatility as an actress. It also cemented her status as one of the most respected actresses of her generation. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, Loren starred in a series of successful films, including Marriage Italian Style, 1964, Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, 1963, and El Cid, 1961, among others. Her partnership with Italian director De Sica produced some of her most critically acclaimed work, and her performances often combined elegance with emotional vulnerability. While Lauren was often cast for her beauty, her acting was always central to her success, and she quickly earned a reputation as a versatile and deeply committed artist. Despite her immense success, Lauren's career faced its share of challenges. She was often scrutinized for the roles she played in Hollywood, sometimes being typecast as the exotic beauty which frustrated her desire to take on more varied, substantial roles. Nonetheless, Lauren persevered, continuing to work in both Italian and international cinema well into the later stages of her career. In addition to acting, she also became a celebrated figure in humanitarian work, using her fame to advocate for various charitable causes. Today, Sophia Loren is regarded as a true cinematic legend, admired for her resilience, beauty, and ability to transcend the limitations of typecasting, securing her place in the history of cinema. Diana Rigg. Diana Rigg, born July 20th, 1938 in Doncaster, England, is best known for her iconic role as Emma Peel in the television series The Avengers, 1961 to 1969, which made her a household name. With her fierce intelligence, independence, and physical prowess, Rigg's portrayal of the stylish, intelligent, and resourceful Peel made her one of the most beloved characters in television history. As a female spy who was as skilled in combat as she was in wit, Emma Peel became an iconic figure in popular culture, and Rigg became a symbol of women's empowerment on screen, at a time when women in television were often confined to passive or secondary roles. Rigg's career was marked by her ability to shift between television, theater, and film. After The Avengers, she starred in the critically acclaimed British film The Hospital 1971, and went on to perform in a range of roles from Shakespearean plays to classical adaptations. She was widely regarded for her sharp, commanding performances in theater, including her time with the Royal Shakespeare Company, where she performed in various classic plays. Despite her fame as a television star, Rigg's theatrical work was what she truly loved, and where she often found the most satisfaction as an artist. One of the most memorable parts of Rigg's career came in 1971, when she joined the cast of the James Bond film On Her Majesty's Secret Service, playing Tracy DiVincenzo, a character that would become a fan favorite. Rigg's Tracy, the tragic love interest of 007, was a complex and nuanced character, providing Bond with a rare emotional depth. Her performance was praised for bringing an emotional gravitas to the often superficial world of Bond films, and it has since become one of the most celebrated portrayals in the franchise. Off-screen, Rigg was known for her fierce independence and witty, often acerbic personality. Her no-nonsense attitude, combined with her strong opinions on the roles available to women in film and television, made her a sometimes controversial figure. Her frankness and commitment to her craft often led to clashes with directors and producers, but she remained steadfast in her desire to take on challenging and meaningful roles. Rigg's later years saw her embrace roles in series like Game of Thrones 2011-2014, where she portrayed the formidable Olenna Tyrell, further solidifying her legacy as one of the most respected and versatile actresses of her generation. Diana Rigg passed away on September 10, 2020, at the age of 82, leaving behind a lasting legacy in television, film, and theater. She was admired not only for her skill as an actress, but also for her defiance of traditional Hollywood norms, consistently pushing boundaries and creating unforgettable, strong female characters that continue to inspire audiences. Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda, born December 21, 1937 in New York City, is one of the most iconic and multifaceted figures in Hollywood history. The daughter of Hollywood legend Henry Fonda, Jane began her career in the early 1960s and quickly rose to fame for her roles in films like Barbarella 1968 and They Shoot Horses, Don't They? 1969. However, it was her performances in the 1970s that solidified her place as a leading actress. Her role in Clute 1971, for which she won the Academy Award for Best Actress, showcased her talent and depth as an actress. Her portrayal of Bree Daniels, a call girl turned private investigator, displayed her ability to handle complex and psychologically intense characters. Fonda's career continued to flourish with powerful performances in films like Coming Home 1978, for which she won her second Academy Award, and The China Syndrome 1979, in which she portrayed a television reporter uncovering the dangers of nuclear power. Her roles in these films earned her widespread acclaim for her commitment to socially conscious filmmaking, and she became known for choosing roles that explored social issues and highlighted the personal struggles of women in a male-dominated society. However, it was not just her acting that made Fonda one of the most well-known actresses of her generation. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, she became one of Hollywood's most prominent political activists. Fonda was a passionate and vocal critic of the Vietnam War, and her outspoken activism sparked a massive public backlash, especially after her controversial 1972 visit to Hanoi during the war, which earned her the infamous nickname Hanoi Jane. Many veterans and American citizens were outraged by her actions, and the public vilification she faced was intense. Despite this, Fonda never apologized for her anti-war stance and continued to be an advocate for peace, environmental causes, and women's rights. Her personal life also became a subject of intense media scrutiny. Fonda's marriages to political activist Tom Hayden and media mogul Ted Turner were highly publicized, and her personal transformation from Hollywood star to political activist became a defining aspect of her public persona. As she got older, Fonda's activism extended into her work, and she began focusing on causes related to health and fitness, including launching a series of workout videos in the 1980s that became cultural phenomena. In recent years, Fonda has continued to be a leading voice in advocating for climate change awareness and women's rights, particularly through her involvement in the Fire Drill Fridays protests. She also returned to acting in the Netflix series Grace and Frankie, 2015 to 2022, where her portrayal of the quirky and dynamic Frankie Hansen earned her critical praise. Jane Fonda's career is marked by a unique combination of artistic success and personal activism. She has been a trailblazer not only in film, but also in politics and public life, making her one of the most influential actresses of her time. Fonda's ability to reinvent herself throughout her career, coupled with her unwavering dedication to social justice, has ensured that her legacy extends far beyond her early fame as a Hollywood star. The 1960s was a decade full of controversy, and Hollywood actresses weren't immune to the intense scrutiny that often came with fame. From political activism to on-set conflicts, these 25 actresses faced the wrath of the public for reasons both personal and professional. While some became infamous for their roles in scandalous affairs, others were vilified for speaking out on contentious issues. Their legacies remain divisive to this day, with some still admired for their talent, while others continue to be remembered for the controversies that surrounded their careers. Which of these actresses do you think truly deserved the hate, and which ones were unfairly targeted? Let's discuss.